everyone, and thank you for coming to watch another episode of Spill the Tea with me, St. Ginger. As a reminder of what I'm doing here, I am inviting a guest to talk about one song on the most recent release, Beautiful Reckoning. And today I have Jeanie, one of my dear childhood friends, and also a member of the band Devotchka. But really, we go way back to wallpapering dollhouses and making them beautiful in our years of like 7 and 8, I think, is about when.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, about
Jeanie,
7
thank you
years.
so much for joining me. And can you tell me what song you've decided to use today or talk about?
Well, thanks so much for inviting me to talk about one of your songs with you and sharing this. So the song that I chose is called Golden Hour.
Great. I'm so excited to talk about this one with you because obviously there's some resonance.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this song is just such a beautiful tribute to your mom and it makes me cry when I hear it. So I'm interested to learn a little bit more about your process for writing it and what inspired it and some of the different choices that you made when you were recording it. So do you want to tell me about what inspired you to write this song?
I mean, obviously my mom, and you knew that. So that was because Jeanie knew my mom too, which is really helpful.
Yes.
So my mom had a very surprising ending to her life, and so this song is kind of, well, it is about that timing, that time period. She had fallen in May, and then through a series of events ended up passing away in October, and the fall broke her back, and then her dementia got worse, and over a series of things happening and continuing to happen, it was the initiation of her ending. And in that time period, we just had some really beautiful healing time. And so this song is a tribute to both my upbringing and also to, that journey with her at the end.
Did you ever get to sing this song or sing any part of it for her?
I didn't. This one came out post mom's passing.
Okay.
But she did get to hear my EP that was out prior to this while she was in a home for 2 weeks. And during that time, I flew to Wyoming because that's where she lived. Actually, no, I was in my RV. I drove to Wyoming.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, when
I
you
forgot about that, and camped in the driveway and would go visit mom in the home, which was a half hour away. And I would spend like 3 hours with her.
Wow.
This album, it's EP, the prior one to this, I was very adamant that it happened before so that she could hear it. And so I had just a beautiful moment with her where she got to listen to it. And it was honestly one of the only times she was quiet and still. And I knew she knew. It was just this peace came over her, and our eyes were almost teary. Like, it's hard to say because they were always kind of a little teary-eyed at this point in life.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. And so when you were with her in the home, then you kind of started, that just kind of gave you some inspiration for actually making your whole entire album, right? The whole
It was, that whole journey with her, not just being in the home, but the whole like watching mom go and realizing, and I've known this, I'm not one to, I know that like you only have the time you're here.
Yeah.
But I think to have it so right in your face.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom died young for the women in my family path. Like for generationally, she's the youngest. And so to realize like, maybe I won't live till 90.
Yeah.
And I put this off long enough. And fortunately, because of her, I was in a position to be able to kind of just let everything else go and do this. And so, I mean, it's such a huge gift. And it's kind of in a way her legacy in a roundabout way. To give me the freedom to do this.
I remember your mom being such a vibrant person when we were kids, and because she was always taking you and I and our other friends around to different events that we had planned. Her and another friend of ours' mom seemed like they were always driving us around and just creating a lot of fun for us. Any idea that, well, probably you and our other two friends had, then she was willing to step in there to make it happen. Whether it was doll houses
the
or
Volvo crew.
yeah, I mean, so much fun. Yeah. I just remember her being that way. So I want to ask you some questions about when you were writing this song, what your writing process was like. Do you come up with the lyrics first or the melody first? Or how do you go about writing on this particular song?
On this one in particular, because they're all a little different but similar, because I'm not an instrument first writer, I'm a vocal first writer, I guess is the best way to put it.
Uh-huh.
I recorded this into my phone.
Okay.
Vocally, because I do remember that. And it came pretty quickly, at least as far as what the chorus was. I knew the song was Golden Hour. It was never a different song name, because some songs, they change names over the time period of like writing them, and you're like, oh, that's not the main theme. But I knew that was the main theme of this song. And it's so funny because there were, I guess, a few albums that came out the same year I was writing this after I wrote it that were called Golden Hour, and there's a couple other female singers that have songs called Golden Hour since then. And I was like, well, I guess we all were in our Golden Hour phase.
Wow, that could be lucky. Someone's looking.
I know. I can't remember who it is, but there's another fairly well-known singer who has a Golden Hour album that came out in a similar time period. So yeah, I recorded the chorus into the phone, and then I started writing the verses. And the first verse was the first verse. It's always been the first verse. It actually has not changed at all. And then I had various different versions of that verse, and then various different versions of the second verse. The second verse was the harder one to write because it's the more, I don't want to write songs that aren't true. And my mom and I didn't always get along. There was some adversity between us, especially towards the end of her life, not that time period particularly, but as we got older. And there's reasons I believe that that's the case. And they're kind of in the song, actually, now that I think about it. So there were a lot of versions of the verses. And then, so that was my process to get to the beginning of like sitting down and writing.
Well, that's really interesting. And I feel like this song is very honest. And I mean, those verses are really, the second one comes across as really truthful and non-judgmental in your description of the relationship that you had. I think a lot of women have a similar relationship, a similar experience with their own moms. It's meaningful to me in that way too.
I appreciate that because, it's hard to not say nice things.
Yeah. Yeah.
About someone who's gone, especially. And also who other people have different versions of a relationship with, because obviously I have a family who has a different relationship with my mom than I did.
Yeah.
And so, you can't, this is a song from me to my mom and my experience with my mom. It's not anybody else's song. I mean, that's just, it's not my brother's song. His relationship was very different with my mom than mine. And as per usual, sons and moms have different relationships than daughters and moms. And, there's a bigger reflection in the mirror when you're a daughter versus a son.
That is so true.
And that goes both ways. Like, she's a reflection of me and I'm a reflection of her. And, the parts of her that I disliked obviously were the parts of myself that I didn't really like either, and that I had really worked on in life. And it's easy to see them because I know what they are.
Yeah.
So
it is. Let's see. I wanted to ask you, so at the end of the bridge, you have a voice that's just saying a spoken word part that is really kind of hard to understand. And I was wondering what those words were that you
it's intentionally hard to hear.
Okay.
It's actually, what it says is, I knew there's a longer intro to it, and there was a longer recording of it. And I just gave it to Joey and said, you pick the part that goes. And the part that you can really actually hear is that I knew she was ready to go. And that is really from that time when she was in the home. And I knew then, like, mom was ready. And she had some very interesting experiences there. And the veil, as I see it, was very thin. And there was a chair in her room that she kept talking about, the man who was in the chair. And then there was no one in the chair that we could see. But I had finally come to the conclusion that someone had probably passed in that chair, and that she was seeing him, because she kept telling us we couldn't sit in it, that he was scary, that she would get, like, her expressions on her face were hysterical. It's like, okay, I'm not going near the chair. Like, it's just better off. Like, she would have a little freak out if you did sit in it. So you know, so there was this voice in her head, and she was hearing. And so when we were doing the demo, it accidentally happened. And when we did the final recording, I went back to Joey and I said, we're missing something, and this is what it is. And so I sent it to him in a voice memo, and he put it in, and it was like, that's what it had to be. And so I love that it's such a, to me, it's a happy accident, but it was also like a gift from my mom. Like, you need to add this. This needs to go here.
It is really cool part of the song. That's why I wanted to know. I wanted to know what you were doing.
I try to do weird things here and there. There'll be more weird things in the future.
I know all those
little devices, getting more and more confident about adding weirdness to my songs.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the littlest thing, but like the happy accidents happen, and then it's like, oh, that's exactly what the song needed. So,
well, it was just such an honoring of that time period, like all the voices she was hearing, and like this background voice, and I was like, that's totally got to stay in there.
Yeah. You just wonder, who are those people that she's hearing from? My grandma had a similar,
I don't know, maybe she met them
thing when she was passing.
Them now. Wherever she is.
Yeah. Okay, was this one of the first songs that you wrote for your record?
This was the first song.
Okay.
And it was the catalyst of the whole album, as far as like, you know, I started writing it the May after the May she fell, so a year later.
Okay.
And my mom died in October of, years don't work for me anymore. So. Okay, so 2024 was when I wrote it, because it's 2020. So 2023.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, mom fell in. Yeah, she died in October of 23.
Okay.
It's on the calendar. Just so I don't forget what day it was.
It's real.
Years just don't mean anything anymore because they feel like a month, but that's a whole other conversation. Yeah, so I started writing this one in May, the year, you know, year anniversary almost of her falling. And I was on the phone when she fell. So there's a lot of juice in that alone. And then it kind of morphed and got written over a couple months. A lot of this channeled out pretty quick, but then I let it sit. I like to let things sit and simmer, and then I go back to it. And then I took this to the writing camp I went to in September of last year, which is where I met Joey, my producer, who was actually the original person who worked on this with me. And he's the person who did my album. So in that process, there was like some zhuzhing with other writers, with co-writers. This one, they touched the least, but there were more writers on it than most. But there was some great cadence changes and stuff like that within that co-writing that really helped the song. And then it went and got finalized in January of 2025 to demo. And then it went to recording in February, which is when it really got finalized.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So I was wondering also too about the keyboard sound that's in the very beginning of it. It's kind of like an organy kind of sound. And I just wondered, did you guys try other sounds when you were in the studio, or did you just hear that and you knew that was kind of the vibe you wanted for the song?
I mean, I think Ty did a couple of things based on the demo, and the demo was done by Joey, and he did most of the instruments on that demo, I believe. I don't think we had a whole other lot of people on there. And so I had a real vision when we did this whole album, is that I wanted to set everybody free. Like, put them in the studio. Here's the demo. You do what you do.
Oh, cool.
Because it's there aren't a lot of people recording full band in one room anymore. It's a different vibe. And I wanted them to have freedom on it. They're just as much a contribution to this as everybody else on it. So Ty Bailey was my MD and my keyboard master, as I like to call him. Extraordinaire. And I think we did a couple things, and he has more than one keyboard on here. Like, I think there's organ, there's keys, there might be a Nord. I don't think the Wurlitz are ended up on here, but I don't really know. I'm like, there's lots of this, and I didn't do it.
That organ sound is just kind of real distinctive, you know. It's sort of Southern in a way, I guess.
Yeah. And this is probably one of the more like Americana tracks on the album, because the album has some variants, but this is definitely in that Americana
vibe. Yeah. I just wondered if you kind of picked that to give it more of the Americana vibe or not, or maybe you just knew.
Yeah, I mean, the organ was a definite like on this one. I was like, there were certain songs I was like, we don't need organ. Yeah, there's more organ than not. So
Because I know when we're in the studio, sometimes we try different, like our singer might try a different guitar or like try a banjo or something like that, just to see, like, does this change the vibe a little bit? We'll give it more of what we're looking for.
Yeah, and I do think there were like, I think we actually tried all 4 on this.
Oh.
If I don't remember what order this was in the recording order.
Yeah.
It might have been the first day, which would make sense. Yeah, I do know that we, you know, with every song we were like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's try this. So we had options too going into mix, like when it went to get mixed and mastered.
Okay.
You know, Joey had options to pull from. You know, we'd have like 6 different key strings, you know, in the lines.
Yeah, and there's a lot of choices. Now, when you were recording the vocals, was it hard to record these because of the emotional?
This one, no. At this point, I think, you know, I have a different process, which we haven't talked about. I don't know that everybody does this. I've talked about it in other Spill the Teas, but I write down the motivation of the song on a sheet of paper. It's actually in a book that I'm staring at. That's why I'm looking over here. How I want to emote that song and my blocks from emoting it that way. So before I even go in to record, I have like a real understanding of where I'm coming from. And so Joey knows my weird processes because he's a gem of a human. And so if I'm struggling, he'll be like, so what was the motivation? So, because he knows I do this, and he'll be like, so where do you want to emote from? So
that's really,
I mean, the beauty of writing is that it's therapy. So the therapy was done, and then it's almost just a celebration of like, woohoo, I've done the therapy. And now I just get to go back into the feeling without it being traumatizing.
Wow. Okay. Did you have to do a lot of takes of your vocal lines before you were happy with them?
Not on this one. I think this one, well, I recorded with the band, but in the control room. So we went back and redid those because they're not the best recordings. And also there's an adrenaline thing happening when you're like, oh my God, the whole band's here. I'm kind of cool today. Tomorrow I'll just be me. And so we went back to Joey's. He has a really good sound booth in his studio at home. So we went back and punched the next week on my vocals over a course of like doing a couple songs a day. Because I like to sing the whole song. I don't like to punch everything. Like I know a lot of people go in and punch when they're recording, and it's just not the way I like to do things because I don't know how you get in the whole mode of the song if you're punching everything.
Yeah.
So I think we did this like in the studio, I think maybe twice, maybe ran through it twice. Then we made a couple tweaks on the vocals here and there. Like I think we changed the runs towards the end. I think we did a couple takes on runs so we had some options. And then, yeah, I mean, other than punching a couple words here and there, because every now and then you can't understand what I'm saying. Neither can I. In fact, there's one song on the album I'm like, kind of missed that one. It's in there, but no one can hear it.
Yeah. And it's so you just have to decide that it's like, I'm done editing, you know?
Yeah. There's like certain words. This song doesn't have any of those weird words that you sing and you're like, what is that word? And why does it sound so weird when you sing it versus when you say it? This one, fortunately, is not one of those songs. So,
well, it's just a lovely song. And I love listening to it. So,
thanks, Jeanie. That means a lot because I know you know my mom.
It's like knowing that. And then, I don't know, it's really beautiful. So, well, thanks for telling me more about your process.
I appreciate you coming on so much. It really is fun for you and I to get to do this together.
Yeah, it really is.
And I can't wait for you to get to come to a St. Ginger show versus me coming to a Devotchka show. Don't get me wrong.
I love coming. Yes, it'll be fun.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeanie. This was such a great day to do this with you, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jen.
You bet.
And the day you said you were proud of me and the woman I've become. Oh, these sweet memories of you will fade with the days, wishing you had stayed.